Hey, this is Michele Brittany with Fanbase Press. I'm at San Diego Comic-Con. It is Friday afternoon, and I'm joined today by Peter Hogan. Thank you very much for joining me this afternoon.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it. Hey, you have the fourth installment of Resident Alien coming out in September. Can you tell us a bit more about the series, those of us that haven't had an opportunity to read it yet?
What, the whole concept?
Sure.
Okay, right. Basically, our hero is an alien who got shipwrecked here about 3 years ago, and has kind of made a quiet life for himself in a quiet town in the Pacific Northwest, where he's ended up acting as the local doctor. And even though the readers see him portrayed as an alien, it's fairly obvious that everybody that he encounters doesn't see that. They see something else. He's hypnotized them or whatever. And so he's kind of waiting for a rescue ship that may never come, and passing the time by not just working as a doctor, but by investigating the sort of mysteries, sometimes murder mysteries, that he happens to stumble across. And we've had 3 series so far. The fourth one involves an old man who dies as a result of a fire, and the fire might be related to drugs and crime and all manner of other things. So Harry will be looking into all of that. And also in this series we'll be kind of learning, his personal life will change, and we'll learn a bit more about why he's here and his backstory and all of that.
Now, I know a lot of times in sci-fi genre, people tend to go towards the horror aspect, but you took a different turn by going into more of the thriller and the mystery aspect. Can you tell me why you did that?
Well, it was partly first off, I didn't want to have an alien that was a bad guy. I didn't want to have an alien that was a monster, because we've had that time and time again, and I figured it was time for a change. And the readers have really responded to that. It's like I touched a nerve, and it was like, oh, like this makes a change. So there's that. There's also the fact that the rest of it kind of springs from the fact that you just figure, well, this guy's got a lot of time to kill. He's probably going to get bored. Maybe he's a lot smarter than everybody else that he encounters. He's got to find something to do, and it just occurred to me that he might get interested in trying to solve crimes, just to keep himself sane. So that was that take.
And why an alien?
Why an alien? I'd worked with Steve Parkhouse, the artist, in the past on some Sandman spin-off stories for Vertigo, and he's a great guy and a great artist, and I wanted to work with him again, and Steve wanted to do something about aliens. So I went away and thought about it, and this is what I came up with.
Very exciting. So why small town America, and did you have challenges with portraying small town America? Because I do have a hint of
yes,
English
I'm British.
accent there.
I'm British. Why small town America? It just seemed, I don't know, it's one of those things that nearly all the fiction I write, I suppose some stuff I've written has been set in England, but the majority of it's been set over here. I suppose possibly because I live in England, I find it a bit too mundane and normal, and so for me America is kind of the exotic setting. So, and I also went for like the small town simply because I figured that he would want to avoid cities. He'd want to be somewhere quiet, comparatively quiet. So that's why that.
So can you tell me a little bit more about your creative process with Steve Parkhouse, since you are paired again?
Well, really, we kind of let each other get on with it. I mean, we've worked together long enough and enough times that we trust each other. So, once in a while I ask Steve if there's anything particular that he wants to do, or he will say, I'd like to draw this or whatever. But mainly I just go off and write the stories, and then he goes and does the art. And it generally works out to both of our satisfaction.
Sounds great. Now, I know you've actually had quite a diverse background. I mean, you've been editor of Crisis and Revolver.
Yes, that's true.
You've written biographies of such bands as like Queen, The Doors, REM.
Yeah.
You're writing comics as well. Can you tell me what you would like to do next?
What I would like to do next? I'm happy with comics, but I'm beginning to experiment with other things. I mean, I would like to write a novel, and I think I've finally found a subject that might work. So I'm just beginning to tinker around with that. But I wouldn't rule out anything, really. I mean, if somebody asked me to write a screenplay, I'd have a go at writing a screenplay. That's kind of what being a writer is. You kind of have to keep moving, otherwise you just get stale.
And that's interesting. I mean, had you always wanted to be a writer, or did you kind of fall into it?
Well, some of my oldest friends tell me that I did, but for me it just seems to have been a long kind of succession of accidents. I started off as a bookseller, then I went into book publishing, then that kind of led into journalism and a bit of the music business, and it was always words, but there was never a plan particularly. It was just one thing after another, or people would ask me to do things. And one of the things they asked me to do was to edit comics, and that led into me becoming a comics writer.
Did you see a niche there that hadn't been filled, and did that kind of create a spark in you to want to write comics?
Well, I kind of... one of the things that led me into it was the fact that I was a journalist around about the time of Watchmen and Dark Knight and all of that. So the magazines were going, well, you know about this stuff, go off and talk to these people. So so from that kind of period on, I was interviewing people like Alan Moore and Neil Gaiman, and pretty much everybody that was around at that time. And so through them, I kind of got to learn how it was done and became friends with them, and so I blame them, really.
Well, and you've worked with them too, so...
But anyway, that's how I ended up here.
Very neat. Is there anybody that you would like to work with that you haven't?
In terms of artists, probably dozens of people, but sometimes it works out, and sometimes you end up working with people in the strangest ways. When I was doing The Dreaming, they did the first collection of the trade paperback. They did this 2-page story, and Elisa Whitney, the editor, rang me up and goes, "We've got Joe Orlando. Can you do a 2-page strip for Joe Orlando?" Now, which I did, but I never in a million years thought I'd get to do it. So you never know. You never know.
Very cool. And what do you have coming up for you?
What I have coming up? Well, there's the 4th series of Resident Alien. I've just finished writing the 5th series, and other than that, I'm talking to a lot of people about a lot of projects. I might be doing a sort of book project with Hunt Emerson, who's, I don't know if you know Hunt's stuff.
No,
he's kind of like an English undergroundy artist. And it's sort of strange material that would take a long time to explain, so I'm not going to do it now.
Okay. And where can people find you on social media?
On social media, not really. I'm kind of an old-fashioned guy. I mean, I'm on Facebook, but I tend to restrict it to friends.
Okay, I understand.
So my generation doesn't really do this stuff.
I understand. Well, thank you very much for your time, Peter. I really appreciate it. And that's it for me. If you enjoyed this content, you can see more at Fanbase Press on Facebook, and also at fanbasepress.com.